Hey, I'm Eddie Price, one of the co-promoters of the Haunted Hickory Paranormal Conference. I'm here with one of our guests, Shannon Sylvia from Ghost Hunters International. Shannon, it's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me here.
You having a good time so far?
I'm having a blast. I'm hanging out with all kinds of fabulous people this weekend.
Is this your first time to North Carolina?
I came to Charlotte as a child, but this is my first time for business, for pleasure, as an adult, hanging out in North Carolina.
Well, let me jump right in. What got you into the paranormal?
Your typical story. I grew up in a haunted house from the very small age of about 3 or 4 years old. A lot of paranormal activity started centering around me.
Now, where was this at?
In Leominster, Massachusetts, which is north central Massachusetts. It's a beautiful town, quiet town. It's the birthplace of plastics and the pink lawn flamingo.
Really?
The guy's still alive, and
which is incidentally made out of plastic.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them in Florida, ironically. But growing up in a haunted house, and Brian B will tell you the same story, and everybody here has said the same story. You grow up wanting, you're thirsty for that knowledge. What is going on around me? We absorbed books like sponges because we didn't have the internet or MySpace to turn to. We didn't have the click of a mouse to look up your favorite paranormal investigator and blast out a question.
Exactly.
So I educated myself like you wouldn't believe. And I do not include all those years educating myself as calling myself a paranormal investigator. I wasn't investigating anything, I was learning.
Mm-hmm.
So, I did this for as long as I could. I finally got out of that hell house at 21 years old. I bought a condo.
So was it primarily malevolent then, the house?
It was not positive. I don't think it was demonic. I think it was a poltergeist. It did throw things.
Mm-hmm.
It had a lot of the symptoms of a poltergeist. There were also male and female entities, kind of like LaChance just mentioned. He had said that there's a lot of Indian territory around. Well, same thing with me.
It was like a multiple haunting then.
We had multiple things going on there. You could hear audible women and men voices and scary stuff. There was a lot of scary stuff. So growing up as a child, being surrounded by complete poltergeist activity was terrifying for me.
Were you the only one that experienced this, or did everybody else in your family?
Everybody else experienced this, but most of it was centered around me. I was the one complaining mostly about the symptoms. My entire family was witnesses to it, and some of my neighbors.
What was their interpretation?
It was very not spoken about. Very Catholic family. We believed just in having priests come in and out, and priests blessing left and right. That would help the problem, that would help the problem, that would help the problem. It never helped the problem.
Really?
All the holy water in the world couldn't get rid of what was in this house.
So you later moved out and then moved into another haunted house?
I was excited to buy a beautiful condominium, which I still live in now, which is featured in Paranormal State, for a good reason, because it was an old schoolhouse from the 1800s and it's haunted. So within the first week of moving there...
Now, did you know going into it?
No clue. I had no clue. Back then, again, we're talking the 90s, paranormal, Ghost Hunters wasn't on TV. Nobody talked about ghosts. It wasn't a fad back then. It wasn't the hottest topic. We grew up knowing that maybe a house down the street might have been haunted because it looked creepy. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
But nobody really knew for sure if it was. So I had no idea the history of this place. I didn't know it was an old school. It was obvious because my hardwood floors still have the imprints of where the desks and chairs are bolted into the floors. I have the original 1800s hardwoods, so they're in pretty good shape. And I knew right away that the place was haunted. There were some pretty wild things happening.
Like what kind of activity was there?
Right off the bat, I came out of the shower. I moved there alone. I didn't have a roommate. I had a Dalmatian. And I have a giant 40-pound vase that I bought in the Dominican Republic. It's beautiful. And it's heavy. And that vase was no longer in its normal spot in front of my bathroom. It had moved about 20 feet across the floor when I came out of the bathroom from the shower. And I just stared at the vase, scratching my head thinking, did I move the vase? And just, why would I move the vase? I don't remember moving the vase. Didn't hear the vase move, and obviously my little doggy didn't push it across the floor. That was the first symptom. The second symptom was I was talking on the phone to someone at 11:30 at night, and my bedroom door blew open so hard I punched a hole in the wall. And it just went BAM! And I screamed. I thought someone was bursting into my room to kill me. And it froze, and of course the person on the phone was concerned, what's going on, what's going on. I didn't say anything. There was nobody there.
Oh my goodness.
And then in front of my entire family, I invited them all over for the first time. We were sitting at a large table like this, made of glass. And my family was just talking, and my dad and I were kind of just looking around the room, and we heard crash, and it sounded like my glass table had just smashed. It was that loud. And the looks on each of my family's faces, everyone was doing this, and
wasn't me.
The blood had drained from their faces, and nobody said a word. And then my grandmother smacks my grandfather and said, "Did you hit the table with your cane?" And he's they're arguing back and forth because his cane was on the floor. He's like, "I didn't do it." And nobody knows where the crash came from. It was just a phantom crash noise. Now, my father had known that there were symptoms going on in the house, but that convinced him right then and there that there was something going on.
Now, did you ever see anything? Was there ever an apparition?
Apparition was last fall, was probably my first one. Ironically, it was with a friend from a former group I had been associated with. And we were sitting in my living room, and her husband had just farted. True story. Her husband had just farted, and we both turned to look at him just to, of course, laugh and scold him for that. And just as we turned around, a dark mustard-colored orb about this big just flew right from my staircase down, swooped over our heads, and disappeared. And now I'm looking at her, just waiting for her to say something, and she's looking at me. And we're both just looking, and then she finally said, "You did see that, right?" I'm like, "Yes, I saw that, thank you." And we know that was not fumes.
Yeah, because we don't live in a cartoon. But
that was the first thing I had physically seen with my eyes.
And you said you still live there?
Oh yeah, it's not harmful. You didn't get a lot of banging. My husband and I actually witnessed a package of hot dogs that we took out and put on the counter. We were doing some kitchen work right next to the package of hot dogs that were thawing out. And we never left that spot. And we finished what we were doing. We're actually packaging up fish that we had just bought into those like freezer pack things.
Yeah.
And we put the fish in the freezer, which is to the left. And it's a very small kitchen. People have seen it on TV probably. And the hot dogs are gone. Gone, all right? We scoured the trash, we scoured the house.
Was it the Dalmatian?
No, the Dalmatian had long passed.
Oh,
so I had 2 small Jack Russells, but when they see food, they sit behind us at the doorway, very quietly, patiently waiting for a treat. But they also are not big enough to reach the counter height and, of course, snatch a package of hot dogs. And, of course, they would have been missing had they actually succeeded. They would have been eating the hot dogs. Never found the wrapper, never found the hot dogs.
That's amazing.
Oh, there's a lot of stories.